Welcome back to Worldview. Now, Angelo Carusone is very angry with the department chain Macy's. Well, actually, he's angry with their chosen spokesperson, Donald Trump. During the 2012 presidential campaign, the Donald went full-on birther, claiming the President of the United States was not born in the USA. During the campaign, he demanded that the President release a bunch of college records, and in exchange, Mr. Trump agreed to give some money to charity. Now, Angelo felt that as though Trump was using charity as a weapon, and he was increasingly frustrated by the contemptible behavior. And it seemed as though the Macy's CEO was also involved in the game, promising in a letter to, quote, help further Trump's brand. And that brand of bigoted bullying and chicanery, it seemed, was inconsistent with Macy's, so Angelo put up a petition at signon.org, and it garnered 10,000 signatures in just 2 weeks. Then, on election night, as many of us saw via the tweet, Donald repeatedly called for the overthrow of the American government, presumably because he was disappointed with the results. And the petition took off immediately after that, and Cher even tweeted her frustration in late November. Now, Angelo delivered that petition to Macy's with close to 1 million signatures, along with several people who were there to cut up their Macy's credit card to show their displeasure. And tens of thousands of people flooded the Macy's Facebook page expressing their displeasure with Trump. And Adweek showed Macy's popularity as a brand had plummeted, and while their sales were up only 4.1% in December, they're up 11.7% in January, and their COO retired after 41 years, so the campaign likely had a financial effect on Macy's as well. So joining us today is the head of the Dump Trump campaign, Angelo Carusone. Angelo, welcome to Worldview.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Angelo, it seems the campaign has ruffled Mr. Trump's feathers a bit. He's placed you ahead of comedian Bill Maher on the to-be-sued list. Tell us a bit about the threatened lawsuit that he's sent your way and your response.
In the few days before Christmas, one thing that we did is we ran mobile billboards around Macy's Herald Square and Macy's headquarters in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the billboard simply had a picture of Santa on one side that said Macy's then, and a picture of Donald Trump on the other that said Macy's now, and we asked Macy's to bring back the old Macy's and dump Trump. And I don't think he was very happy about those billboards. Those were very important days for Macy's, and I guess they were concerned about people being reminded about the association with Donald Trump. And so he sent me a cease and desist letter threatening a $25 million lawsuit if I continued to persist with what he called damaging Mr. Trump's good reputation. So it took about a month to secure all the legal representation and prepare for that. And here we are, where I finally have gone public. It was an attempt to obviously silence and stop me, and I don't think it worked.
$25 million. Now, I have long said to people that, particularly in a public relations capacity, that many have actually attended the Donald Trump School of Publicity, which is pretty much say anything you want about me as long as you spell the name correctly. How is this different? I mean, why all of a sudden has Trump decided to first go after the comedian Bill Maher, and now, obviously somebody who, judging by the shot here, would not have $25 million to pay in a lawsuit?
I think that part of the problem is that it usually is good publicity to get any publicity. Unfortunately, in the case of Mr. Trump, his entire business model is to go out there and say irresponsible, reckless, odious, and contemptible things in order to get that publicity so he can promote his next Macy's product or his next television show or his next venture, Trump steaks, Trump ice cubes, whatever the new product is. And so, when you actually start to identify the perverse incentive that rewards that behavior, it becomes a real problem. I mean, this really threatens Donald Trump's larger business model, not just his relationship with Macy's, when you think about it.
Well, let me ask you a question, because obviously defending yourself in the legal system of the United States can be quite costly, and even a frivolous lawsuit, I've seen legal fees go into the high six figures, even seven figures. How does, again, somebody like yourself who's being pursued in this manner get the legal representation with which to go up against a Trump who would have a whole team of lawyers at his disposal?
I mean, that was honestly the biggest challenge. I mean, I spent the first few weeks in January actually working with some of the largest law firms in the world, because they were the only ones that actually have the resources to invest and sort of dump into a pro bono litigation. The biggest challenge that I ran into there is that while many of the pro bono departments were interested on free speech grounds and a very interesting sort of case, and obviously the publicity that would have been attached to it, they all ran into conflicts, or for the most part they did, because they either have a relationship with Mr. Trump or have a relationship with one of the entities that could potentially be involved. And so eventually, I went around to some of the larger consumer advocacy organizations and settled on a group called Public Citizen. And they have enough resources, or a good amount of resources, that they were prepared to sacrifice them, if this were to move forward and some costs were attached to it. So I'm very grateful for their support.
So I'm trying to now, as a business person as well as a journalist, crawl inside of Mr. Trump's head here a bit to see what the possible end game could be. I mean, how by obviously suing a young man who's exercising his free speech rights, is the Trump organization and Donald Trump in particular going to benefit from something like this?
I honestly don't know. And especially because in late November and early December, Donald Trump's team and Macy's both came out and defended Macy's and attacked my efforts and all of those people participating in this campaign on free speech grounds. They made the argument that we were injuring Mr. Trump's freedom of speech, or in some way limiting it and restricting it, and yet here we have Mr. Trump actually asking the government to forcibly silence me, and then punish me to the tune of $25 million. So it's quite an inversion, and it's rather hypocritical on their behalf, but I don't expect consistency when dealing with Mr. Trump or his associates.
Inversion or perversion, I'm not sure which word actually applies there. It certainly seems as though, when I watch the we get the real-time broadcast on delay on iTunes here in the UK, and when I saw the attack by Bill Maher against him for the frivolous nature of the suit and the inability to understand a joke or to understand that he's a public figure, and therefore a lot of the protections don't necessarily apply because he's put himself out there so publicly. What is next for the Dump Trump campaign?
I think that we're going to persist with on-the-ground actions. I certainly, am very much in favor of similar types of actions to the mobile billboard. Once we sort of get out of winter, I expect, Macy's does a lot of big events at their stores with some of their other celebrities, and I certainly expect to be there. I'm not a barn burner, so I'm not interested in ruining, somebody's good afternoon time, but I also think it's important that, people are consistent and demonstrate that they are disappointed by Macy's decision to not only stand with Donald Trump and defend him throughout this process, but to invest very heavily in his brand, something that I think most people find to be not worth investing in or incentivizing or rewarding.
Well, it's a fascinating story, Angelo, and we'll be watching it from here as well on this side of the pond, because he's made a few enemies up to the north in Scotland with some of his developments, so we'll be taking a look to see how this story develops. We've been talking with Angelo Carusone. He is the leader of the Dump Trump movement related to Macy's, the department store chain in the U.S. Thanks for joining us, Angelo.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back. You're watching Worldview with Denis Campbell.